Hey you guys, my name is Shoya and I'm a senior coach here at Relationship Hero. And in today's video, I want to focus on having effective conflict resolution. So we're going to start by painting a picture first. You and your partner, for the most part, have a pretty healthy relationship. That is until you guys argue. When you guys argue, things go from 0 to 100 unbelievably fast, to the degree that you feel like arguing and debates are going to be the deal breaker for your relationship. And this has caused you to invest in a sane amount of energy into making sure that you two never argue in the first place, which is unsustainable because conflict is an inevitability of all relationships. This is why we want to invest into conflict resolution versus conflict avoidance. And the only way to do this is to understand how we approach conflict in the first place, which has a lot to do with our typical attachment styles. Now, there are tons of ways to understand and wrap your head around the different attachment styles, whether we're talking anxious, anxious avoidant, waves, or islands. And if that's something you want to learn a little bit more about, then I highly suggest you have that conversation with your coach. But for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on how two different attachment styles approach conflict and what to do about it. So say your partner is the kind of person who is very overwhelming and very overbearing when it comes to arguments. They are the people who want to understand what's going on and fix this right here, right now. We are not leaving this room until we come to some type of consensus. They end up becoming very needy and clingy and asking you for reassurance. Do you still love me? Does this mean that you hate me? Oh my God, you don't love me anymore. They are that whirlwind of emotion. And this can feel very, very suffocating to you, especially if you are the type to shut down and really need time to disconnect from the noise of everything that's happening and recenter yourself with your own thoughts and your own feelings so you can understand how you came to this place in the first place, which again conflicts heavily with the fact that your partner is needing the exact opposite, needing the reassurance and wanting the noise to continue until the situation is fixed. So you and your partner have different attachment styles. Your attachment style puts you in a position where you feel safe when you are allowed to process through your own thoughts in order to come to a safe conclusion. And your partner's attachment style is trying to make sure that they are in fact not being abandoned and they need to work the problem out loud to make sure that everything's okay. And this is what makes them feel safe. There is no right or wrong when it comes to this approach. It's just how people are and or how they were raised or what environment inspired this particular attachment style. However, regardless of what your attachment style is, it's imperative that we understand it so we can use it to effectively approach the situation. So, if you are the shutdown type, if it is in your nature to become reclusive and need to center within your own thoughts, then understand that you are responsible for executing step one in this process, which is whenever a debate ensues and you find that you're going to go in and you need that time and you're going to disconnect before you walk away, which is going to trigger your partner. We ask that you invest a small amount of energy into giving them just enough reassurance so you can have that time for yourself. And what this can sound like is, hey, I hear you. I see you. I recognize that you're upset right now. I recognize that I'm upset right now and that things are not ideal. But understand that I still love and care for you, and this is not me abandoning you. We will figure this out. But as of right now, what I need from you is to be okay with the fact that I just need a little time to decompress. I am not in the right mental and or emotional headspace to approach this right now, even though I understand this is what you need. So I need you to be okay with giving me just a little bit of time to sit with this, and then we can come back with it. Giving your partner this reassurance that things are, in fact, for the most part, okay, that you are not abandoning them, and then telling them that you need them to be okay with the fact that you need time also reassures the fact that the relationship is still very much the relationship and will be okay. So you are responsible for this step so you can give yourself the time to decompress. If you're the other person in this argument, if you are more of the overwhelming type because you feel that things need to be fixed right now and they need to be addressed before we walk away, then understand that although this is your approach and this is what makes you feel safe, It is actually what makes your partner feel the opposite. So what you need to do is be okay with them needing this time and space and giving it to them, in which case you use the same time and space to reach out to your coach or your therapist or that trusted friend who actually has your best interest in your relationship interest at heart, and unpack that through them so you can navigate through those heightened emotions and really understand what triggered the situation and where you are in this situation. I highly suggest for step 2 in approaching conflict that both parties come back to this problem no more than 48 hours down the road. Anything more than 48 hours is effectively sweeping it under the rug. And even though you two may not feel like you felt at the beginning, if there is no consensus about where you stand on this topic, then whenever you have your next argument, you're really just packing on to the last couple of arguments. So you want to come back to this within at least 24 to 48 hours once the emotions have decompressed and once you have a clear understanding of what triggered the situation in the first place and how you got to where you are and what's the main thing you want to get across. Now, hold space for the fact that you two do not have to walk away from this situation agreeing with one another. It is okay to disagree. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree. And that doesn't mean that you are invalidating the other person. This just means that you're taking time to understand and respect how the other person came to their conclusion, but you're still holding space for the value of your own conclusion. And that can sound like, I hear and I understand where you're coming from, and I respect that. I just feel differently, and that's okay. So maybe you two agree, or maybe you two agree to disagree. But once you have a consensus about how you're going to approach this or what your final thoughts are on the situation, then you let it go and you use what you've learned from this argument to better approach future arguments down the road, since again, these things are inevitable. If you feel like you've already done this, or maybe you don't know exactly how to execute this for your specific situation, then I highly suggest that you sign into Relationship Hero and set up a couple session with one of the coaches like myself so we can help you better navigate through spaces like this. But until then, you guys, I hope you take care.